Welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast, the sister brand of Subtle Asian Real Estate, where our mission is to get more people that look like us participating in the real estate industry. We invite experts to not just talk about real estate, but also about our unique identity as Asian women and the cultural values that shape who we are as investors. I'm Anita Wong.
And I'm Tiffany Lee. We're both real estate agents and investors based in the Bay Area and New York City. Whether you're a seasoned real estate pro or just starting out, there's something for everyone here. So pour yourself a glass of wine or boba tea and join us as we celebrate the achievements and unleash the untapped potential of AAPI women in the real estate industry.
Welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast.
Now let's get on with the show. But first, a word from one of our fabulous sponsors.
Hey SARE Ladies listeners, Tony the CPA Dude here, also your resident SARE tax bro. And with your lovely host, they came up with some great ideas. So Miss Tiffany and Miss Anita here came up with the tax workout plan. So we're gonna help you get cut up on your taxes, also gonna help you cut up on your own body. So just like working out, taxes is a monthly thing. You can't ignore it, otherwise you're gonna fall off the cliff. So with the code SARE Ladies, we're gonna give you a nice healthy discount, and we're also gonna give the SARE Ladies a kickback just to help support their podcast. I've had a fun time being on their podcast a couple times this year. They've done great. I really wanna see them blow up in 2023. So with your support with this creative tax workout plan and also a workout plan in general, we're gonna help you transform your life in 2023. So mention the code SARE Ladies when you talk to me. You can email me at Tony@the CPA Dude, text me at 928-CPA-Dude, TikTok's the CPA Dude, website's thecpadude.com, everything's the CPA Dude. So SARE Ladies is your special code here, and let's make this year great.
Now on to the show.
Hey Pod Squatters, welcome to the SARE Ladies podcast. This is your host, Anita Wong and Tiffany Lee. It's January 2023, and I know where we're all standing right now. It's January, you have new goals, new business plans, maybe you started that new keto diet, you're fired up and you're ready to go. But did you know that a new study suggests that it takes just 32 days for an average person to break their New Year's resolutions? So today we're going to be talking goals, new habits, how to stick to them, especially those real estate ones.
And today we have Tracy Truong, who is a sales account executive at Slack and taking the real estate world by storm. Just in 2021, Tracy went from 0 to 6 properties within 7 months with a variety of short-term and long-term rentals in multiple geographic markets. So this girl is flying all around the country. Then she started this empire. She started it and built it out herself. Tracy is also an avid world explorer and fitness buff. And the kicker, Tracy built her entire real estate empire still working remotely at her W-2 at Slack, while her husband, who's a police officer, supported her ambitions from home. So if you're just getting started, this is the episode for you, because today we're going to talk about goal setting, habits, and having the right supportive network to realize your dreams. Welcome, Tracy.
Anita, Tiffany, Pod Squatters, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored, excited to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Okay. So tell us about who you are and a bit about your real estate journey.
Yeah, so I mean, for those who are listening and who are immigrants, I have a very similar story. I grew up in a household with some of the most hardworking parents you could ever ask for, just working to ensure my sisters and I have a great opportunity in life. And so after graduating from UCLA, I found my way into tech sales, and by the age of 25, became a regional manager for a tech startup, and then from there pivoted more to like a field sales account executive role, where I got to do really fun and cool things. Like I flew to companies like Disney, Lululemon, helped them with their mobile strategies, and right now I'm at Slack in a very similar role and helping these enterprise companies to really build out their digital headquarters within the platform. My real estate journey actually started when I purchased my first home. It was funny because I still remember unpacking that last box. And I just sat there and I was like, wait, is this it? Like, I feel like I'm in that American dream that my parents has always described. And at this point, I'm 28 and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, there's no way my life is just like I've met the goal. Like something doesn't add up. And for some strange reason, so I saw Robert Kiyosaki's ad like 5 years ago, and I've always dismissed it. But for some reason, like in that moment, that ad just popped up in my head, and I was like, I'm just gonna go Google this guy, and I'm gonna see what this was all about. I don't know why I suddenly just thought about him when I had this moment of like, is this it? Is this the American dream? So I bought his ebook, Rich Dad Poor Dad, the Purple Bible as we know it, read all of that in one night, and I just suddenly felt like someone who was like at the top of their summit. Here's my career, love and life, moved into my first home with my husband, to now feeling like the bottom of the summit of like, I have so much more to do. And everything that has been taught to me, I just realized is just the complete opposite of what I want to do with my life. And that just really ignited everything and started that real estate investment journey.
You said something really interesting, Tracy. So I just want you to expand on that. What were some of the misconceptions that you see now, when from your upbringing that is not in confluence with where you want to go with your future?
Yeah, I think, and not speaking for everyone and with an Asian background, but just in my upbringing and in the Asian culture, I've always grown up to hear, you go to college, get a job, buy a house, and you're good. You're comfortable, and that is the life. And when I hit those milestones, like each and every one of them felt great, and I'm so grateful for the path towards it. But when I finished buying that first home or that house that my parents has always described as like, that is like the promised land, something just didn't really feel right, because I feel like I still had a whole life ahead of me. And it just didn't align to everything that I knew I was still capable of fulfilling and achieving. And there was just still like that hole.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? I feel like you're an Asian overachiever. I mean, reading your bio, yeah, you are an Asian, the textbook Asian overachiever. And so you got there so fast, like you're so young. You're like, what's next? But was that kind of your background, like in high school, college? Were you like straight A student?
Oh, absolutely not. So I'm the third child in my family, aka the forgotten one. So growing up, like my sisters were the overachievers. When they got to my grades, my mom was like, "Whoa, you got satisfactory in getting along with people."
So what you're saying is you're an A- student? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm not even an A- girl. I'm like C's, B's on my good days. I actually fell asleep on my final exam in high school, and at graduation, this was senior year. At graduation, my teacher was like, "Hey, so I saw you fell asleep in the final exam. Like, I know you're a senior and all, but at least act like you care."
So that's so funny, right? Because so as a kid, you kind of like just didn't care about the academia. So when did that switch for you? Do you think when you got a job, when you got your W-2, you're like, okay, now I'm ready to, just level up and, repivot that whole C student story?
I think so. I think the pivotal moment for me was, I think after I got that first paycheck was when I realized where it's like, okay, like, even though it wasn't significant, it was okay. Like, I need to put effort into something that I want. And that something that I want is I want to travel. Like, I want to not worry about, I need to pay gas and here's my last paycheck and I can barely afford it. So that really set me on this path. Like, okay, so the harder I work, the more I will earn. So, but that is still that track of like what we heard throughout our life, kind of leading up to college and getting a job. But after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and just getting into like the real estate mindset, that completely pivoted. It's like, yes, the harder you work, the more you will earn and the more that you'll achieve. But also there's this concept of like, work smart, not hard. So how do you be strategic about it? And how do you partners with others and put yourself in front of others where you can grow and learn together to get there?
That's awesome. And that segues into our next official question. So when you started, how did you create your plan and how did you set forth on achieving it?
Yeah. So when I started, like I knew absolutely nothing about real estate investing. So the first step was always education. I basically went ape on like a whiteboard that I had in my office space. And I just wrote down every single question that I had at that very moment. I was like, how do you become a real estate investor? Where do you invest in? What are the best markets? How do I protect my assets? How do I protect my ass, period? And then once I have all those questions out, I started to research books, webinars, podcasts, virtual meetups. This was during the peak of the pandemic, so meeting in person wasn't a thing. And I just put myself in front of those resources that could help me find the answers or help me to get the answers that I needed. And then the second step was, at the end of the day, especially for newer real estate investors, I still consider myself pretty new, is that like you can read and attend webinars and listen to podcasts all you want, but if you don't align action, nothing will move, nothing will happen. So from there, I started to align daily habits, which is analyzing at least 7 properties a day. And I flew myself out to Ohio, which was my first out of state market, and spent 3 days there just driving every street and corner that I was interested in investing for the neighborhoods. And then the third step is just trusting yourself and trusting your learning and start putting in offers and making it a reality.
I love that. Learning by doing. You're like a tactical learner. So I remember when we were reading off your bio, you're a big fitness buff, right? Do you think that has influenced your, your mental fortitude in going into this?
I definitely think so. In my mind, one of the hardest thing for me is how do you push your body and challenge yourself mentally, and how do you do it at a time that works best for you? And for me, in my mind, I think like working out is even harder than real estate investing or learning about it, because then it's like you need to get physical with it, and it's also like a mental block that sometimes you need to like get over if you're on like your last rep or your last set. So I strategically set my workout routine to be the first thing that I do when I wake up every single day, because when I conquer that hardest thing in my mind first thing, everything else that follow is easy.
And then you get those endorphins too. So you're like super pumped and energized to take on the day. Wait,
Yeah,
so
exactly. Natural energy. You don't need coffee for that. You just do some push-ups, do the workout, get that pump out and that mind pump too.
so
It's definitely changing. Yeah.
do you do mostly weightlifting or calisthenics? What's your routine? You look great, by the way. So all the ladies want to know, what's your
This top of
workout
the head's
regimen
really
in the
great.
morning? How are those
Aw, you guys, you're so sweet. I love mixing it up. Lately I've been doing a lot of strength training, so a lot of dumbbells and barbell strength training. It's definitely like a good mix of Pilates in there. I cannot do yoga, like I just can't. And I think a part of that is I just need to do a better job of like learning how to meditate and like slow down a little bit in my mind. So that's something that I'm still working on. But it's a good mix of, CrossFit, strength training, Pilates, walking whenever I can, standing whenever I can, and just being active. Like your body is one of your biggest assets. Like take care of it.
I love that because I almost see a direct parallel to your workout routine and how you're kind of structuring your real estate portfolio, because it's so diversified. You have midterm rentals, you have short-term rentals, you have long-term rentals, and you're in all these different markets too. So do you think that that's like that talks to each other in a way where you're like, I need to be doing something different just to mix it up?
I definitely do. And I think so if you're kind of relating it to like working out in real estate, I know in real estate, a lot of times we hear like, hey, like focus on one thing, like what's your niche and be absolutely great at it. I 100% agree. But also it goes back to diversifying your portfolio, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I think when you venture out into different paths, not only are you learning like how do you manage a short-term rental, but also what's the difference between that and a midterm rental? And in my mind, it's like you're never going to kick yourself in the ass because you read too many books and you just absorb so much knowledge and information, right? So it's kind of like the same concept of,
Yeah.
even though I may not pursue, let's just say, self-public storage in the future, I have enough knowledge, or I believe I acquired enough knowledge to make a sound decision if I ever decide to be a part of syndication for one. Very similar to just working out, right? Your body over time and your muscles over time adapts to the weight that you continue to lift and train with. You need to push it, you need to challenge it. And once you challenge it, that muscle stretches and it gives you more room to actually grow and enhance it. So that's just kind of where that thought process is. It's just like continue to challenge yourself and be in that uncomfortable stage.
Yeah, because you can hit plateaus in both things, or you can hit a fitness plateau. And I feel like you felt like you had hit a work and just mentally hit a plateau of like, what am I doing? This is boring to me. This workout is boring to me now. This making money thing is boring to me now with just a W-2. I want to mix it up and diversify and go to the next thing. So that's why I really like that connection. And I saw it as you were talking about, plateauing, hitting your goals and having fitness top of mind. So that is awesome. Anita, how do you feel? You like it? You ready to move on to the next question? Because I do this all the time. I ask like 2-3 more bonus questions.
I love it. I love it as well. And I'm like, oh my God. It's so true though. And like you have to always keep yourself stretching. And there's not really a point where you can say like, I'm like, are you ready like to make like, cause in real estate, I kind of feel like you don't know what you don't know, right? You learn the books, like whatever, but the books don't say anything about what it's actually like. Even for all the syndication books, I know how to like, they tell even all the gurus that are all telling you how to get your first deal. But what about managing those deals? What about like when you're like your tenant like burns down like 3 surrounding apartments, like, or like things like that, right? You don't really know until you actually get into the area to get there. And I love that you just kind of just force yourself in there. Just challenge yourself, be free to fail, be free to learn, and then carry that on to your next deal or your next lesson, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, wait. Before we move on to the next question, Anita said something interesting. So here's another connection that I just realized between fitness and real estate. You have to stay flexible and agile. So with exercising, you really need to listen to your body. Like if something hurts, like so don't hurt yourself, right? Or if something feels bored, like you really need to be in tune with your body. And similarly in real estate, you really need to listen to the marketplace and adjust accordingly, adjust your strategy accordingly. So having that flexibility and mindset and really listening to and being very aware of what's going on and how everything plays together, I think is another, fitness real estate thing. And I think the segues into that other thing that we're working on, that other initiative, Anita, that you came out with the workout plan. We have a SARE Ladies real estate-ish workout plan in the works with all these different for 2023 in line with your goal setting thing. So this is the perfect first episode for 2023, so, Tracy.
It might be already out by now, but by the time this episode airs, but we'll let you know. But yeah, I totally agree with like what Tiffany said about like, like just being in tune with like who you are, like what your body is telling you, even not just like not just like, on the market, but also like about who you partner with, whether a deal's good, right? It's like, if you have those tingling feelings, like this seems like too good to be true, or these numbers don't align, this is bullshit. Like that's the thing that you're training. I kind of feel like you're just training your bullshit meter.
Your bullshit meter muscle.
It's just, the more like deals you're underwriting, you're like more and more deals, you're just training your own bullshit meter. It's like, that's not the numbers I've been getting. These are the ones that I have. And it's like, that is your like day by day strength training, So
Absolutely.
And with strength training, you got to practice your form too. So with every deal, your form like improves, but having good form is the fundamental of lifting, and then you add more weight. So I think systemizing too, and the form goes into the systems. Oh my God, I can go on about this all day. We need to move on to the next question. I'm going to do this all day.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, Tracy, add one more thing. Go.
Can I just add one more thing, especially for those who are like newer in real estate investing? FOMO is real. And I'm going to make that connection to like recovery days and workouts, where it goes back to what Anita said, where it's like, hey, and also Tiffany, like listen to your body when you're working out on like recovery days, where it's like, it's okay to sit out. Sometimes when you're still learning, it is okay to take a break within your week to maybe not attend a virtual meetup because you're just socially burnt out, or it's okay to not make an offer today just because a group of your 10 other investor friends are doing it. Listen to what is okay and what feels right for you. And based on your gut and judgment, like go with it. Don't ever make an offer or do whatever it is based on FOMO. So I'm just going to put that there.
I love that. Tracy, one more thing. That's like if you fall off your diet plan, right? you can fix it. Just get back on the wagon the next day. Like you're fine. You're allowed to like take a break, have a cheat day, and mess up. But like if you need to have more good days than bad, you're allowed to have bad days, but you need to have those larger majority of good days, right? And that goes back to working out too. So be disciplined, but also give yourself some grace and be kind to yourself. Nothing is perfect.
Beautiful.
So
next question. We did it.
I feel like we're gonna skip to the last question. I know maybe we'll come back around because I want to get this question out first before we head on to. I don't want to run out of time. But can you tell us about your relationship with your husband, marriage, and the conversation you both had when you set off to build your real estate empire?
Yeah, thank you for asking this. This is definitely a big part of, I think, where I am today. I think like mentally with real estate investing. So I'm so grateful for my husband, Lawrence. The best thing about Lawrence is that he's 500% supportive. Anytime I want to do something, he's like, yeah, let's do it. But the bad thing about Lawrence is even if it's a bad idea, he's like, yeah, let's 100% do it.
I love it.
But ride or die. Lawrence is a ride or die. That's
right. I know, right? And sometimes I'm like, I don't know if it's a good idea, but sure. But I think like if I'm tying it back to like the conversation that I had with him for real estate investing and just for me personally to eventually go all in, it wasn't important for me to get support from him to do it because regardless, I'm going to do it anyways. I think what was more important was getting him to understand why I wanted to do it for us. And the reason why that was so important for me to get it was because his goals, decisions, and his mindset would make it very difficult for me to be in an environment where I can be fueled and inspired by my partner if it just didn't align. And like for me personally, especially in a marriage, at this point we're married, we're 1 year into our marriage. So at this point for me, it's kind of like, I want to be around someone who, and also to throw on top of that, we're in a pandemic, right? I see him every single freaking day. And so it's like, I need to be in an environment where my partner inspires me and like, he turns me on physically, but also mentally. I think like for me, 90% of being attracted to my partner is the way that we connect mentally and emotionally. And if real estate investing is 90% of my passion and it's fueling me to get up every single morning, if my partner doesn't understand why I'm doing it, that makes it very difficult for me to want to be around him, to be affectionate with him. So I think, getting attuned when that side of it as well and getting your partner on board, it's much more than just, hey, I support you, but you need to make sure that you can bring it in from an emotional and mental level as well.
Yeah, they say foreplay is like for women, it's like 80% mental, 20% physical.
Well, I totally understand that. And I listened to Esther Perel, and he talks about like how many different facets of intimacy, right? It's that like you have intellectual intimacy on top of the physical one, and in getting on top of the like what my motivations are. Can we be in sync? Do you understand what's going on in my mind? And you just trying to get to know that space, like what is like making my clock tick. I think that is like such a big part of like relationships or supportive relationships, and they may not always understand.
Healthy relationships. Yeah, healthy relationships, healthy supportive relationships. So we're talking about fitness, having a healthy real estate portfolio, and having a healthy marriage. You need a well-balanced life. And Tracy, the overachiever, is like triple threat. She hits all three.
I'm still working on it every day, guys. But to like answer your second question around like how do we even get there? I think getting him to that mindset was definitely difficult, right? It's like, it's easy when you're just saying it and you're just explaining it now. But so his background is he's in law enforcement and in that field. And for those who are listening and can relate, like they're naturally wired to put others in their community before themselves, like even their own life. And whether even if you're not naturally wired to do that, you're trained to do that as like a police officer. So working on that mindset was something that I really had to work with him on, because when I dove into this world of real estate investing, it wasn't just like, hey, I'm going to go buy a couple of homes and we're going to let it sit and we're going to have some cash flow. But it's really this mindset of it's more than that. It's like, how do we get the return on our time and our freedom? So now we're pivoting this conversation in our marriage from like working for others and building wealth to how do we work for ourselves and serve ourselves so that we can build this vision for our family and our family now, and also the family that we will make together in the future. And I think I was able to do that by just dragging him along to meetups, like intentionally like blasting up podcasts from like Grant Cardone, inspirational podcasts. Like literally I'll be on my phone and I'll just like blast it up on like high volume just so he could just like walk by and listen and take some snippets out of it. And then I would like intentionally just leave like Rich Dad, Poor Dad books like all around the house, like highlight stuff, flip it open the book and just put it right there on like the dinner table, you know. And over time, he started to pick up a lot of like the cue, like, okay, like now I understand it's more than just like buying homes and acquiring it. But I think the tipping point that really like fueled and inspired him and really took us to that next level was like, it was around December and I was like, hey, like, let's do a vision and goal setting session. And so what I did that day was I booked an entire day. I was like, hey, we're going to meet on Friday. We're going to have some coffee. We're going to buy some pastries. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cool. And we're going to spend that whole day. We're going to turn off all of our phones and we're going to set a 1-year vision and a 5-year vision. And within that vision, let's talk about everything that's important to us. And at that time, and even today, it's our assets, it's our relationship with family, friends, ourselves, and it's our health, and it's our self-improvement. So those 4 buckets, we then aligned like habits and goals associated to it. And every quarter now we actually have a quarterly meeting and we would meet and we would say, hey, like every day, all the habits that I've done up to this quarter has accumulated to these goals or these progress that we've achieved. And ultimately the end goal here is that after every quarter, we want to be able to say every action and every motion that we put into place within this last 3 months is putting us closer to that one vision and that 1 year versus like that 5-year vision. And I think what he started to realize was like our 5-year vision, which is like our 1-year vision even, which was how do we sponsor trips internationally for our family, right? And that, like, for me, I'm a big family person. He is too. Our goal is to travel with our family whenever we want to. And I think what he realized was like, there's no way that we can sponsor trips for our huge family just on one income stream and where we are at today. So that's when his wheels started spinning. He was like, okay, like I actually need a side hustle. I need to build out a business. And like, how do I balance my time as a law enforcement officer and do all these other things so that we can get there? And very similar to myself too. And I think that's when he started to get like, okay, like it's not about just like having a job and getting income from it, but it's really about working towards his vision and then working backwards and how we achieve it. And we're proud to say, like, just last month, 2 weeks ago, we came back from Japan and Korea, and we actually opened up the invite to our parents. And we're like, hey, like, we want to get you guys a trip, like, come on over to Asia with us. And unfortunately, my parents couldn't make it due to timing, but we were able to fly his mom out, and she enjoyed the trip with us. And it was incredible. And we hope to continue to do that, like, every single year with our family.
Oh, that's so
That
cute.
gave me literal chills, and I'm like tearing up a little bit.
Oh.
My period's coming. Hey, we're gonna take a little break, but in the meantime, here's a shameless plug for one of our amazing sponsors. Dr. Hua Win and her husband, Dr. Jaime Gonzalez, both optometrists by trade and owners of multiple multi-million-dollar optometry practices in the Dallas area, founded Black Steel Investment Group with a passion to invest to impact. With the foundation forged on 3 pillars, integrity, community, and legacy, they put their investors at the forefront of everything they do. The couple are both seasoned, full-time multifamily investors, syndicators, and asset managers who, together with their investors, have invested in over 6,900 units as general and/or limited partners in Texas, Arizona, Florida, and the Carolinas, with total assets valued at over $480 million. Juan Jaime are always working to find new investment opportunities for their investors. The couple enjoys traveling the world for delicious food and interesting cultures with their 8-year-old daughter Athena and have a puppy named Coco Ollie. Now on to the show.
I love that, like, okay, my husband says all the time too, he's like, treat your relationship. He's always like, I want to treat our relationship like a business. And I'm like, but it's true. I was like, when you started saying like we meet quarterly, I'm like, that is literally what we do all the time too. It's like our relationships, like what's that word? Like the term agile scrum. Like we have like, what are your 2023 goals? What happened? What'd you like from our relationship this past month? What did you not like? What could you change? I was like, I love it. It's exhausting. I will say it's exhausting. But it's so worth it, I think, to be consistently talking in line like this with your partner, because it really does affect every aspect of your life, right? I think in like the beginning of my own marriage, which is, I think we got married about maybe the same time, but like all of your I think someone said to me, like, all of your happiness and all of your misery is going to come from one single person, right? Yeah. And it starts with your marriage. It doesn't matter if, like, what kind of problem you have. You have a business problem, you have like a health problem. You should start with your marriage. And the reason why is because there's this one single person that is affecting so many different facets of your life, right? It's sort of like the keystone, right? And so I love that you're constantly in check and constantly in tune with that, and getting off to a great start. I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm also on a start. It sounds like you're getting on a great start. So, yeah.
I love that. It's a foundational, you having that strong partnership is a foundational thing, and it's a launching point for stuff. But Anita, I want to go on a side anecdote. So Anita's husband, Will, is very big on measuring performance metrics. Mm-hmm. So during the Dallas trip, what did he tell you? How did he rate your guys' marriage when we were in the thick of planning that Dallas trip? Out of 10, what score did he give you?
I got a 4. I got a 4 out of 10. He said, yeah, I got a 4 out of 10. It was definitely a rough time for doing, like, I was so stressed with Tiffany. Yeah, it went out. My marriage.
We almost got a divorce. This is me and Anita are basically work married. We're work wives. Anita, I rated our marriage during the Dallas trip a 2 out of 10.
Thank you.
So what would make the marriage a 10? I'm kidding. Like, how would you guys define a 10?
Oh, you're like fucking on unicorns. Sorry, we have to make this podcast.
We're always tapering on like 7, 8.
10 doesn't exist, but we can make it a benchmark,
Yeah.
I think a 10 for us would, Go ahead, Anita, what were you going to say?
I mean, I would be happy to be at, I think perfect position is an 8, right? You still have something to work for a little bit. Like, I think kind of where happiness sits,
I like
you have some place to work towards, you have still some things to work on, but you're generally happy and feeling fulfilled. And I think that's what I aim for with all my relationships, including my work wife, Tiffany.
Aw, Anita, you know what I love? All right, so you know what? You're right. Because a perfect 10 would mean that we plateaued, right? If we hit a perfect 10, we'd be like, what's next? And Anita does this all the time. Like, yeah, when we get too comfortable, Anita's like, we need to move on to the next thing. Like she's like, if we hit one thing out of the park, Anita's like, all right, what's the next thing? And I'm like, I'm not ready to get stressed out again. Can you give me like a week? I'm listening to my body and we need a break.
I love this relationship that you two have, and also the fact that you brought up the plateau again. Like, now it's inspiring me. It's like, how come I don't have a work wife? Like, I need a work wife too.
Welcome to the sorority, Tracy. The SARE sisterhood.
Right.
Yeah.
So right.
So
Yes.
many sister wives to choose from. Just go to the next sorority trip that we have going on. You'll find your work wife there.
I bet I will. I'm so excited to make the next one. I was so bummed I missed the one in Dallas.
Yeah.
Oh my
Okay,
God, this
so
is so fun.
I want to
All
hear
right.
top tips for setting goals. Top 3 tips.
Ooh, top 3 tips. I would say if you were to take anything away from this podcast, go read Atomic Habits by James Clear, because one of my top tips for setting goals is don't set a goal, set an identity and align habits to it. And the reason why I say that is because whenever we set goals, it's very out of reach at the moment, right? Like I'm not gonna wake up the next day and become like a multi-billionaire, like passive, you know, real estate investor. But if I align habits to it, and if I'm setting the identity of like, hey, I want to become a real estate investor, great. Now it sets in play this motion of like, okay, how do I align habits and daily next steps in order to help me get there? And it could be as simple as start analyzing 3, 7, 5, whatever it is, properties a day. Go and attend one meetup every single week and meet someone new every single week or every single month, whatever that might be. The second tip I would say is, and this is from the great Grant Cardone, I mentioned him a couple of times, as you can tell, he's my idol, is whatever your goal is, like 10x it. And so, for example, if your goal is to make 100K in passive income through real estate investing, make it 1 million. Because if you're going to, because then it's like you start to train your mind to think bigger. But also, if you 10x a 100K goal and you make and you land 500K in passive income, I don't think you're going to be crying anytime soon. Like maybe tears of happiness, right? So shoot for the freaking planet and just land on the stars. And the last tip here is like set your vision and track your habits with your partner. We kind of talked about this with my husband, Lawrence, right? If you don't have a significant other, find someone who's a really close friend, someone that you trust, and track those habits daily. Make it one of the first things you do every single morning. And just get it done. It takes like a quick 5 minutes of like, hey, these are my habits today. This is what I'm going to do. And just check it off at the end of the day. And that just kind of gives you the sense of like fulfillment of like, wow, like I did it. And it inspires you to keep doing it.
Oh my God.
Can I add a fourth?
Oh my God. Yeah, of course.
And I think this is just like so monumental. Like also set time, because anytime that someone comes to me and they're like, hey, like I want to set this goal, and then I meet with them the next time, like, hey, like I actually didn't hit it because I didn't have time. That's like the number one reason why people just don't achieve it. Set a time block and make it non-negotiable. Like literally, don't touch your phone. Don't let anybody disturb you. Whatever that time block is, dedicate it to whatever task that you want to align or have accomplished. So like, for example, for me, it's like my time block is 4:30 in the morning to 8 a.m. No one bothers me. My husband, my dog knows not to even look at me. That is my workout, my reading time, my getting up to speed on real estate, everything that I need to do. And after 8 a.m., great. Let's start with a W-2 and do everything else. So don't forget to take care of yourself and serve yourself first thing in the morning and do what you need to do.
I love that. I love the self-care aspect. I love how your husband is almost like your gym buddy. He is your gym, like, look at all the fitness analogies happening here. And I love that you read it. You brought up Atomic Habits. I love that book, and I think Anita, you read it too, right? That was like on our reading list together, and we don't have a reading list together. We just happen to read it. I make it sound like we're like, oh, we're such an idyllic couple. Like, oh, we have a reading list together, and then we talk about it. We don't do that. But what I love about Atomic Habits is I think he had a chapter where it's like when you do your task, you stack them, right? Yeah. And I think you having that having a dedicated time block to just stack all those tasks, it's like a compound movement to bring it back to lifting, right? You do a squat and you do a curl at the same time, and within that time frame, you're activating different muscle groups. And you're like more parts of your body is getting workout. And that goes back to what you said earlier, Tracy, which is like work smarter, not harder. You only have a finite amount of time to do things. So how do we maximize our time? Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I
remember
love
reading an article too about like the Forbes article about millionaires don't use to-do lists, they use time blocking. Read this, I think it was a long time ago,
Yeah.
but totally true. I mean, I totally agree with that. Okay, so how top 3 tips for maintaining these goals
Ooh,
or 4?
maintaining. I think that's the harder part of it, right? It's like cool, like you could set all the habits and write down all the goals you want, but maintaining it. The first is I would say be consistent. So on days that just suck, just show up. Like you want to get to a place where if you're not doing it, it feels weird. Like for those who are consistently working out, like on recovery days for me, like I don't know what to do with myself. I'm just like sitting here. I'm like, okay, I'm resting, which is great. But like on days where it's just hard and like it freaking sucks and you have other things going on, like just show up anyways, because really that growth happens when you're stretching and you're being most uncomfortable. And on days, and I remember when I started analyzing deals, like it got to the point where it's like I'm so sick of seeing these homes and like none of these deals make sense. I want to give up. And I've had like those moments where I'm just like, dude, like this doesn't work, numbers doesn't work. But you just keep doing it. And once you close on that first, second, third property, like you're never gonna regret and be like, wow, like I regret flexing that muscle and building that muscle up to analyze so many deals at the point where now I know what is worth spending time on and what is not. The second tip I would say for maintaining those goals would be to honor the commitment to yourself. And I think every time that you're setting a goal or you're telling yourself you're going to do something, like do it. People just don't realize that committing to yourself, and especially with your goals and with your habits, like it is a form of self respect. And just like you make commitment to others, we follow through. Don't give yourself the short end of the stick and give yourself excuses. Just follow through with that commitment and give yourself the respect that you know that you deserve. The third one is, again, it goes back to setting that non-negotiable time. I cannot stress this enough. It doesn't have to be in the morning. It doesn't, whatever it is, if you're not a morning person, do it after work. Just find that time block. And for those with family, I get it. It's so difficult and it's so hard. That time block doesn't have to be 2 or 3 hours. It could even be an hour. And that hour can be broken down to, let me just read one chapter today. Let me just listen to the first 10 minutes of this podcast. And if I'm commuting, I can listen to the rest of it. If it's important enough to you, you will make it work and you will find the time. So do that time block.
I love that. And that time blocking, it's literally like boundary setting, right? It's being very protective of your time and your energy. And what's so interesting is like, I don't know if this has been your experience growing up like in an Asian immigrant household, but
Mhm.
I almost feel like there's no boundaries. There's no boundaries with your parent, like zero. So that was like a learning that I had to get as an adult and going to therapy. Hey, all right. So maybe personal question. Do you go to therapy, Tracy? It's like a personal trainer for your brain. So do you go to therapy for yourself, and do you do marriage counseling? If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But I'm just curious, like.
No, those are good questions. So for myself, I don't go to therapy. For my marriage with Lawrence, we did attend a couple of like marriage counseling and therapy. And that was life changing. I mean, it helped our marriage in so many ways because I feel like a lot of times when people think about like counseling, they automatically gravitate to like, oh, like something's wrong with you or something's wrong with your marriage. You need help. But like, one, I just want to put it out there. There's nothing wrong asking for help if you ever need it. And also, two, counseling is one of the best therapy that you can get because you can have an expert, like literally someone who has spent their life dedicated to this field to help you self improve not only yourself, but one of the most important relationships. Like, sign me up any time of the day, right? And a lot of these therapy sessions, we're not even talking about like issues about our marriage. We're talking about like, hey, how do we improve this part? Or like, hey, how do we get better? What should we be thinking about in terms of like 5 years, 10 years from now? What happens when we have kids, right? It's just kind of like this thing where it's like you're brainstorming with other folks that are much more like more of an expert in the field than you are. Because at the end of the day, I think we also have like group thinking syndrome where it's like if it's just you and your partner, you always kind of have the same thoughts. It's like, how do you bring in a third party with like a different perspective?
I have so
Yeah,
much
and
to say
by
about
third
this
party, yeah, we mean therapist, not a third party. You don't.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not an open.
Don't bring in that third party, people. Keep it between you two, but bring in that therapist.
Right. I have so much to say about that. I mean, actually, I mean, my husband and I, we have a couples counselor, a therapist that we don't use all the time. It's like we bring her in once a quarter. We like kind of do some fine tuning, and then sometimes when shit hits a fan, we call her and be like, "All right, we need a coach. We need a referee between us," because sometimes we just kind of get out of our head and sometimes she just talks to my husband alone. I think what's really and what you said is on point. Is like you have an expert that just like not only can they ask the right questions, but they can synthesize all of the things that you're trying to get out and then help you synthesize it in a way that is helpful for you to communicate to your partner, right? Who does not have a degree in like, any of this stuff. All they hear is like just rambling while you're trying to figure it out. And then it's sort of like and so like having a therapist is like having like someone just like kind of cut to the chase and then ask like those right questions about what those underlying things really are about. And so I'm such a proponent. Not sure how this deal with goals, but I think this is such a proponent.
It does because that's your partner to help you hit those goals. If
Yeah.
I think I heard somewhere where the most important thing that a woman can do is picking the right partner for her life. Because for I feel like the impact for a woman is much more significant than it is for a man, especially in the world that we live in, right? If a woman doesn't have a good partner, it basically ruins her life. Like he's just going to bring you down to his level. So you really need to find someone who is in alignment with your values. And I feel like, both Tracy and Anita, my conversations with you guys have great husbands, great supportive partners. And I think as your girlfriend, it's good to have like relationship goals. Relationship goals AF. So because this episode's about goals. Anita's like, oh yeah. Anita has this like blank face.
No, to me, it's just like more like it's like conversation of like women needing to choose their like partners. Like that's the most important thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I've like heard that from I don't know. Like I've been told that all the time.
And be single and have your peace. But if you are gonna partner up, don't pick a shitty one. Like women can work. Like let me clarify what I said, guys, before anybody gets mad at me on the podcast. You can be single and ready to mingle and kill it, right? You can be the rich auntie. That's fine. Like you do you, girl. But yes. I'm saying for those who choose to partner up, don't pick a shitty partner because that's gonna ruin your life. All right, pick a good one.
Right, and then your priority is not picking a partner. Like your whole ambition of a woman is not to have a partner.
That's not what I meant, guys. Like that's not what I meant. I just said you have various life paths. If you're gonna do that one, pick a good partner.
And to add to women empowerment as well, where it's like, and I'm gonna relate this back to real estate, where it's like, don't make a deal work if it just doesn't work, Mm-hmm. And it's like, for example, if you find a property, you locate it during inspection, there's just no way this foundation could ever get fixed and it just does not work with the numbers that you have in mind. It's okay to walk away, move on, take it as a learning, and now you know where to base your criteria to look for the next one. Tying it back to relationships, right? You can go to counseling, therapy, and have these conversations with your partner. But ultimately, we continue to grow and evolve as human beings, even if we're married or not. We will change. I will be a very different person this time next year, very similar to your partner. And at some point, if that alignment and how you guys evolve as people no longer align, it is okay. It's okay to find partners elsewhere, or it's okay to just continue on the journey yourself and remain as friends. Right? Don't force anything, whether it's a deal, whether it's a relationship.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
that's amazing. I think, are we at time, Anita? Are we at time?
Yeah, I think we're at time. It was just too good chatting, so it just kind of went on. So
fun. I love it. Is that me? No, that's whose alarm is that? Was that me? Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. That was me. Sorry about that. This was an amazing, Tracy. Thank you so much for all the amazing advice. I feel like in the idea of tune-ups, I would love to have Tracy back on the show throughout the year so we can all just check in with each other, like girlfriends, just like meeting up for a digital like brunch lunch. And I love this. I think that we should definitely do that, Anita. So let's book it. Thanks, Tracy, for all the amazing advice. I hope this helped all our listeners get a little jump start on how to keep their real estate plans in motion. Tracy, if our listeners want to find you, how can they do so?
Absolutely. Well, Anita, Tiffany, thank you so much for having me. And Pod Squatters, thank you for tuning in. It was such an honor to be here. If you ever want to find me, I am very active on the Subtle Asian Real Estate group. Search my name on Facebook, send me a message. Happy to help support in any way that I can. Or if you're on Instagram, I'm also there. Find me at Tracy_TR and then the number 4. Promise I am going to create a real estate handle very shortly, but for now, that's my personal account. Add me, find me, love to connect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you. Thanks, Tiffany. Thanks, Anita.
Thank you for tuning in to the SARE Ladies podcast hosted by Anita Wong and Tiffany Lee. Special thanks to Subtle Asian Real Estate, LLC, our parent company.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review or follow SARE Ladies on Spotify and Instagram at Subtle Real Estate. You can also click on our show notes to subscribe to our newsletters to stay on top of our news and upcoming events. Until next time, Pod Squatters.